This is another almost miraculous thing. Is there a person in the world who can still function after death? I have never heard of a doctor being able to heal the living after death. Who would believe this? However, it really happened. Isn't it amazing? People are always talking about the reason, and everything must be reasonable. But if we seriously contemplate it, this reason is hard to say, and there is no absolute standard. For example, the things we Chinese often do and say that we think are reasonable often seem unreasonable to foreigners. On the contrary, what is considered reasonable by foreigners is sometimes considered unreasonable by us Chinese. I think that the word reason is just a criterion for the human intellect to assume that it is in accordance with the public sentiment and tradition. Many things in the universe are far beyond our comprehension. Those things that cannot be measured intellectually are anytime and anywhere. For those things that cannot be explained in terms of reasons, the Buddha has a saying, which is called inconceivable. There are many things in the life of the living Buddha that cannot be measured by reason. The way ordinary people look at him, some of his actions are unreasonable and almost freakish. In fact, it was very common for him because he was in a different spiritual realm. For example, when the living Buddha was alive, he often used his saliva and nasal mucus to heal some chronic ailments and strange diseases. If you want to talk about reasoning, it is something that is unreasonable, and it is absolutely impossible to cure the disease. However, he was able to cure people's diseases, which proves he had a supernatural ability. Here, I might as well write the story of the living Buddha who healed people after his death. This story is absolutely true, and Layman Lay told me personally. In the previous article, I mentioned that after living Buddha passed away at Chin's house, his disciple Tsing carried the body of living Buddha as a patient to Guanyin Temple. This matter of healing after death happened to the other man who carried the dead body. Because there are several long roads from the Yangon market to the Guanyin Temple by the Shwedagon Pagoda, Tsing alone could not carry it there. They discussed hiring another person to carry in turn, but most people did not want to piggyback a dead person. As a result, they found a handicapped person with one useful hand and one useless hand, and he was willing to piggyback the living Buddha. He thought to himself, I am a disabled man, and it is a meritorious deed for me to carry the body of this eminent monk to the temple today. At that time, they couldn't find anyone. Since this handicapped person was willing to do this job, they had no choice but to hire him. It turned out that the handicapped man was not born disabled. 3 years ago, when going down the stairs, he was careless, he slipped and fell down, and broke the joint of his left arm. He had been treated for a long time. Though it was not painful finally, he could no longer move or exert his left arm. Then he became an one-handed person. Along the way, the two took turns to carry the living Buddha to Guanyin Temple. Because Tsing ran to the temple first to settle down, and the disabled man carried the body alone into the temple. When he put the living Buddha down flat, he tilted his body slightly. Just tilted to one side, suddenly he heard a click in his left shoulder joint. At once, he felt a hot current rolling around his body, and he was able to stretch and move his disabled left arm, and he could exert himself. The disabled man was so happy that he immediately crawled to the ground and bowed down to the living Buddha like pounding garlic. As he bowed, he spoke, "Living Buddha, I am grateful to you, thank for your kindness." Thus, that disabled man became an able-bodied person. He went back and told everyone that his disabled arm was cured by the living Buddha after his death. Everyone thought it was a miracle. According to Layman Lay, this person, Zheng, is still alive and is the former head of 18th Street in Yangon. And many overseas Chinese people knew him. Of course, occasionally coincidences happen. But I wonder if that's too much of a coincidence. Let's not talk about its mystery, but in terms of causality, that is, good deeds have good rewards.